Coming to Asia really completely changed me. And I remember with my composition teacher, John Harbison, at the time, American composer, and this was at MIT in Boston, said that he knew I was coming to Singapore, and he said, it's going to be different than going for 6 weeks, or, you know, for example, you'd hear of Steve Reich or Philip Glass or others who they would go to India for a few weeks or 2 months, or they would go to Indonesia and study gamelan music for a summer, right, and come back and be completely changed, or they would be on some program and go for 2 weeks to Bali, you know, and they'd come back and they would be writing this, whatever. And he said this is going to be very different because I was coming to this part of the world to live, and that it would change things, and indeed it did. And this is 31 years ago, and I'm still working it through. And so in those earlier years, I spent a lot of time in India and Indonesia too, Southeast Asia, quite a bit of time in Southeast Asia, but particularly India. And I studied some Carnatic music, vocal. I even found a meditation group in Chennai or Madras and learned a certain form of meditation. I was very interested in Indian spirituality, and I still find the great inspiration in the Upanishads and the Vedas, particularly the Natya Shastra, which is a very, very ancient text that talks about, in a very articulate manner, art and music. And it gave me a language, it gave me words that I really needed. So, for example, Anahata. This is a very important Sanskrit word for me. Anahata means the sound that humans can't hear. And it is actually connected to Boethius and the harmony of the spheres that allegedly Pythagoras spoke of, and later Aristotle and Plato, that there is sound in the cosmos, and that humans don't hear that sound. It's very interesting that now, with astrophysics as it is, and we know that there is sound in the cosmos. The sun has a sound, the earth has a sound, Jupiter has a sound. Just go to YouTube, you can actually listen to these sounds. And I used to dream about these, I used to hear these, I do now, I hear these sounds. And the Anahata cannot be heard with your ears. It's not these ears. I think we have a different kind of ears. I think we have a spiritual ear that is, it's not these ears.
Well,
so when I began to learn about this, it was a validation that it's very interesting. In the Western training, I knew about this, but this was in the ancient Western world. It was Pythagoras, it was Boethius, it was maybe some medieval thinking, not in current living thinking, the way I found it to be in Indian classical music as current living thinking philosophy. So it was an enormous gain for me, and it did change my music quite a bit. In those years, it must have been strange for people hearing my music, because when I came to Singapore, I would describe my music as sometimes expressionistic. There's always a certain tonality, and I can talk about that later. I never wanted to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and there's something about tonality, or centricity, if you wish, that I think connects to the psyche and to the human physiology, even. So to negate that completely is, I think, to dismiss something inside of ourselves, psychically and physiologically. But the music, it's still, yeah, I think it was emotional, but it was very much from, I think, pretty much a Western point of view. And then my music started to change completely. I was very interested in meditation, and I was interested in trance. I was interested and I had had several experiences myself in India and Indonesia with very supernatural happenings. Is a big issue right now, that when music is negotiable, and if you want to know more about this, read Jacques Attali, a French economist, and there's a book in English, it's called Noise, A Political Economy of Music. It's fantastic. And what he talks about, he shows how in a capitalist world, in a materialist world, everything has a price. Everything is a commodity. You buy and you sell. And when music falls into that, it's the Mephistopheles story. It's the Mephistopheles story. It's Faust. You have made a deal with the devil in that sense, if you wish, in that you're buying and selling. It's a marketplace, and that's a completely different world, which I knew I wasn't interested in. That
it becomes very commercialized.
well, it is commercialized, yeah, and I think that affects what you do. So you've lost your dare. You've lost your sense of using music as a means of traveling through the cosmos, through the universe, to find meaning. Is that, I mean, what's more important, you know, a sense of meaning, or a sense of who you are or who you aren't, a sense of answering questions of who are we, why are we here, and what's the purpose of this, and why are you videoing me right now, and why am I talking to you, and who are you right now who's listening to me? Because this is a video and it's for some time in the future, so somebody's listening to me right now, and I'm asking you, who are you? And why are you listening to this? And what do you think is music? And if we discover it as a portal, and we understand that shamanistic connection to it, it's a completely different story then. So that earlier music of mine was very meditative and sometimes very zen. And I think some people really got it, and a lot of people didn't get it.